Today is Monday, June 21st, and this is Headers and Footers, the UEFA Euro 2020 show from the Toronto Star. I'm your host, Brendan Dunlop. Sorry if you don't have two screens, because what a day we got on the first four-game match day at Euro 2020. What a Monday. I'm still coming down from that high. The first four-game day delivering enough drama and fireworks for an entire week. Less than impressive performance by the Belgians was enough to do the business, to beat hopeful debutants Finland and win Group B, which we knew that win over Finland for Belgium meant that Denmark just had to beat Russia to finish second in the group. A thought that seemed unthinkable after two losses. They are the first team to have lost their first two matches at a European Championships and got through with a win on the final day. They did it. The Danes dared to dream, and they're through to the last 16. The football gods look down fondly on the people of Denmark, those 25 players who've been through so much the last 9 days. A tournament that started as a nightmare has turned into a fairy tale, and there's much more to be written with this Danish side. Denmark will play Wales in the last 16 in Amsterdam on Saturday. The Dutch, they closed out Group C with a perfect record, putting 3 past North Macedonia in a match that will be remembered as Goran Pandev's farewell. His last match for his country. I really loved the guard of honor showed by his teammates as he was subbed off the pitch in the 69th minute. Goran Pandev is an icon in his country. An icon much like Messi is in Argentina and like Ronaldo is for Portugal. Goran Pandev is a legend. And it was great to see how much this tournament meant for him and how much this tournament meant for those fans that we saw in attendance at those games and those players who definitely looked up to him growing up. It was always going to be tough for North Macedonia at this tournament. We knew that, but their fans, the program, can be very proud of their run at Euro 2020. Gigi Wijnaldum is on one heck of a run right now for the Dutch. 3 goals at Euro 2020, as many as he scored in 51 games for Liverpool. Odds for PSG to win Liga just went up now that he's there. Real Madrid made David Alaba one of the richest players in the world this offseason. And today he played in a position for his country where he could actually have an impact on the game. It was easy for Austria. I mean, Ukraine were awful. They've got players. They've got good players. But Ukraine did not play to their level at all today. But enough about Group C. I'm very happy to recap an incredible Monday at Euro 2020 with Joe Callaghan of the Toronto Star. Joe, we got to start with Group B because, I mean, my goodness, the Danes, that was fairy tale stuff. They haven't scored 4 goals in a major tournament since the World Cup in 1998 in France. They come out, they get the result they need in the other game, and they put 4 past Russia in just a dominant performance. This is what match day 3 is made for.
Yeah, exactly. That's it, Brendan. Like, you know, we talk about match day 3s down through the years, and they're usually the ones that you remember from tournaments in terms of, you know, group stages can be a bit of a slow plotter, especially with this new format in the European Championships. Today, there was just so much on the line. And like you say, fairy tale, they alluded to it in match commentary. It's the easy one to reach for, that it is in the home of Hans Christian Andersen. This is kind of fairy tale stuff. But if you actually kind of take a step back, obviously kind of where we were 8-9 days ago now, is it, with Christian Eriksen slumped on the pitch. Like from that moment through this, I did a piece for the Star last week ahead of the Belgium game. And I spoke to a lot of people in Denmark, particularly spoke to a really kind of prominent cultural commentator there, Sarah Scarum. And she spoke kind of really eloquently about the journey and how nothing mattered in the kind of 24 hours after Eriksen collapsed. And then kind of slowly as he kind of put his Instagram post out and he insisted he was fine. And then it was kind of a thing of, you know, it's being back together will be kind of healing, is what she said. But her final line to me was something that kind of really struck, and I kind of included it as kind of the thrust of the piece, which was, at the end of the Zoom call, I said, like, I hope the rest of the tournament goes well for you. And then I was like, but I don't really know what well means. And she said, it has gone well. He's alive. The rest is just football. And we can kind of overthink and overtalk football at times. And yet you get a night like tonight. And he obviously had a moment like Poulsen's goal against Belgium too, which was very cathartic. But if that was cathartic, like Andreas Christensen's laser strike to put Denmark 3-1 up, and kind of, it was happening at a time that things were happening in St. Petersburg too. it was really kind of the moment of Denmark I'm almost kind of re-emerging into the tournament, if you want. Like I feel like the Belgium game was about kind of processing emotions and things like that. But that 3-1, going 3-1 up with what was going on in St. Petersburg, and now knowing that they're going to go through, like it just really will be one that we'll be looking back on for a long time. Not least because Andreas Christensen as a center back come right back, really like he hit that almost like an Ericsson. It was an incredible strike.
It really was. And yeah, great comparison. I mean, the team obviously playing for Christian Eriksen, you saw how much it meant to the country, to Copenhagen. It's just a shame they can't play their last 16 tie against Wales in Copenhagen again. At least a shame for the neutral. But they're through to the last 16 automatically. It looked as though that might be Finland when the goal was disallowed in that match against Belgium. I thought Belgium did just enough there to show their quality. They really didn't seem that into it in the first half. Credit to the Finns because they really did battle one of the giants, and they can hold their heads high regardless of whether their tournament continues or not. But Belgium, I'm not surprised to see them experiment and play some fringe players like Eden Hazard got a run today against the Finns.
Yeah, that great fringe player, Eden Hazard. But it's true, like Martinez has kind of maybe been guilty at times of overthinking things. And, we think back particularly to the kind of Euro 2016. They obviously had a great World Cup, one of their better performances in their history. But when we could think back to Euro 2016, compared to now, tonight was a night for kind of giving the fringe guys a little bit of a run. And yet I was still kind of surprised to see Lukaku start. I think him bringing all of the Inter Milan form here, a lot of us kind of talked about it and we said, look, like he's had such a season, he's going to be a different Lukaku. He's always been effective for them, but like seeing him like that going into the knockout stages now is only good stuff for Belgium.
What about the Dutch going through? I mean, they didn't have the toughest test in the group stage, but perfect nonetheless. They showed their versatility, I thought, playing differently against North Macedonia. North Macedonia, a side that just, not of the same class of the pitch, but really did play a game and made it difficult for the Dutch to play kind of as easy as you might have expected, but they still made it look very, very easy.
Yeah, they made it look very easy. It was surprising to me a little bit because I don't know if you've been following it in the Dutch press. I have to shout out one of my best mates is Dutch, Jeroen de Klever, a guy from Utrecht who I met traveling years ago, and we've been great football buddies since. But he texted me 2 days ago, and I guess a training that one of the Dutch assistant coaches, not Van Nistelrooy, one of the other coaches, was caught, one of those great kind of photographs that you see sometimes with the team sheet for today. And people in the Dutch media were surprised that there weren't more changes. Obviously, right. Gravenberch came in and Malin came in as well. And so the kind of thought process was, he's been rumbled. He'll actually kind of make a lot more changes. But he didn't. He kind of kept with, what was it, maybe like 8 or 9 of the side. I think that's tactical because, he kept the core, exactly. And that's tactical because, Brendan, we spoke about this in our kind of pre-tournament chats. That group was made for the Dutch to kind of build up confidence. And yet, you'd wonder if they're still a touch undercooked. They are one of the teams that now enter this roulette of they'll play the third place team depending on kind of rankings from either group D, E, or F. If that's group F, you're talking about a Germany, a Portugal, or a France, maybe a Hungary, I doubt it. And if it was one of the 3 big guns, you might fear that these 3 games haven't given the Dutch enough of a test. I liked Malin up front with Memphis. I thought it gave them a bit more fluidity, a bit more movement. With Weghorst as an option to come in off the bench as a self-admitted, I love beanpole strikers, but I think the Dutch will benefit a bit more with Weghorst in reserve, particularly if they're playing against a team that, has a stronger defense. That's the one thing that they haven't come up against yet is a good defense. So that will be super interesting.
Right. Well, we saw that Ukraine's defense was just in shambles against Austria in the other game. But I think that the entire team, Ukraine just didn't seem up for it whatsoever. They knew that a draw would be good enough for them to get through. And perhaps that explained their complacency because for stretches there, Austria looked like world beaters. And if Marko Arnautovic was, playing in a top quality league, he'd be able to finish the chances that we saw him finish in the Premier League so often. I thought that Austria looked pretty good with David Alaba at left back. And, I don't think Austria is going to give Italy any trouble, but Austria came in, I think with the odds against them and they did the business.
I do think Austria, as one of the kind of teams that progressed as a second place team, Italy couldn't ask for a better kind of nice one to ease into a knockout stages. I don't think they have the kind of talent to go much further. I think they'll be quite happy. Well, this is the first time kind of going through the knockout stages, so they're very happy.
Tomorrow we'll see how things finish up in Group D. A lot of questions about England coming into this match. Even more questions now that we're finally seeing COVID have an impact on the tournament.
Yeah, it's how many kind of mini scandals, not quite a scandal, but how kind of mini panics can kind of Gareth Southgate kind of juggle at the same time. And now COVID kind of coming all the way south of the border from Scotland to England, even though it all happened there in London in the first place. Billy Gilmour testing positive was a real disappointment for a guy who just really exploded in that game. If you can explode in a 0-0 draw, but he did. He kind of took it by the hand, and he was the Scottish N'Golo Kante, But obviously then the only people who actually got close to him were Ben Chilwell and Mason Mount at the end of the game. And they were kind of pictured putting arms around shoulders. But that's the COVID side of things. We knew it was going to have an impact on the tournament. I think there's still a little bit of haze about how they're exactly kind of enforcing this. Nonetheless, let's talk about the football. England still have so many questions to answer. When you look at a lot of the teams and the contenders, how they've kind of dealt with those kind of game threes, you can learn a lot about your team in that. And obviously England still they don't need points on the board because of Denmark's progress today. And that basically means that they're through, but they want to go through likely as group winners, or certainly they want to put in a performance that they haven't put in yet.
England, you think England do want to go through as group winners? Well,
it depends. It depends, because
I don't think they do. I think that's what all of this has been about, and allowing the drama to be, a camp. And I mean, Gareth Southgate coming out 48 hours before to say Harry Kane is going to start. I mean, the noise was incredible, but how often do you see a manager talk about a healthy player 48 hours before and have to make a statement about that, and a player who happens to be his captain?
I think for a start, look, I'm just going to bring in my Irish perspective, which you're giving English people way too much perspective, way too much credit for being canny. There's not enough hubris there for Gareth Southgate to be kind of strategizing and not kind of, I guess, kind of not representing his country as kind of boisterously and as emphatically as he should. I agree with you. Look, do they want to go as kind of group winners and then play kind of the either the France, the Germany, or the Portugal route? Or do they want to get away from Wembley? And certain English kind of pundits and commentators, I've seen them say like, oh, better to win the group and stay at Wembley. Well, they were just booed off at Wembley for a 0-0 draw at a European Championships game. Yeah. So maybe it would be better to finish second, avoid those big guns, and get the hell out of London for a little while. Let things cool off. Let absence make the heart grow fonder. But nonetheless, be that as it may, I do think they need some semblance of a coherent performance that makes it look like he's getting a bit more out of the team. There hasn't been nearly enough. So the thing I'm looking forward to most tomorrow is actually that hour before kickoff and looking at the England team.
If England smash the Czech Republic tomorrow, and they might, what a week of wasted energy this has been then. Friday's scoreless draw with Scotland felt like a loss of epic proportions. Harry Kane took so much of the blame for that. Kane's poor performance at the Euros so far, though, not enough to deter Manchester City from making an official bid, reportedly worth $100 million, and potentially including players like Gabriel Jesus, Raheem Sterling, Emerick Laporte's name tossed about. Got to imagine it would be all that cash and only one of them. Could you imagine if it was two of them? Daniel Levy would have to think about it, but the odds are he's going to reject this initial bid. The value is $120 million, reportedly, that Levy believes Harry Kane is worth. $100 million one of those players is overvalue, if you ask me. A draw at Wembley would see the Czechs win the group and have to play the second place team from Group F, as Joe was mentioning. A second place finish for England, well, that would put them on a path to face the second place team in Group E, which after two matches is Slovakia right now. But could very well be Spain, could be Sweden, could still be Poland after they finish things up on Wednesday. Both Croatia and Scotland will be playing to win. The Scots return home fueled by their performance against England. They know that they can beat this team in front of them. They can beat Croatia because they've done it 3 times. They're unbeaten in 5, their last 5 against Croatia. And they will absolutely be ready to go in front of those fans at Hampden Park. When it's over, you know where to come, right here, Headers and Footers. Tomorrow night, Dan Rouse from thescore.com will join me. Thank you for joining me tonight and every night. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch the show every match night on YouTube. Thanks for kicking it with me.